Square footage, space, it always seems to be the #1 priority for most people when they're buying a home, and I get it. Trust me, I understand. It has been a priority for me. However, today you're going to learn a little bit about why you want to change your perspective on space and not let it be necessarily the deciding factor in home buying. Okay, so typically, most people I talk to have a minimum square footage. They have, this is based on our experience, on places we've lived in the past. This is the minimum square footage we need to, proceed with this house and to live in it. And I get that. It's a great starting point. And we'll do a deep dive on the minimums in a second. On the alternate side, I get clients on occasion that have a maximum. They say, okay, we're not living in anything more than 2,400 square feet. We don't need that space. It's superfluous. It's extra cleaning. It's going to change our tax assessment. It's just a waste of space for us. We don't need it. Once again, I get it. It's a valid point. But the point I want to make here is that when we get too precise on square footage in the search criteria, we're going to eliminate a lot of homes quickly. And the truth about space is that even though it's a defined number, it should be mathematical to an extent that, well, this is the space, this is what fits in it. That's not true, because we're not talking about cubic volume. We're not talking about an empty space. We're talking about a filled in space. We're talking about pockets of volume. So oftentimes when it comes to square footage, and like I said, I'm guilty of this. It happened to me on my last condo where I was so adamant that I wanted minimum of 1,100 square foot. And guess what? I found one that had 1,100 square feet, and I liked the view, and there was a lot of things I liked about it, and it checked the box for square footage, and that was my biggest concern, was space and size. What I didn't realize until I was moving in is that condo lived just a hair bigger than my 850 square foot condo. Why? Because over 100 square feet of space was dedicated to this weird little square entry and this massively long, extra wide hallway that kind of came around it was a corner unit, so it came around the fire escape and all that. So it was just this really long, wasted hallway that was super wide, but also not quite wide enough to have like a bookcase in it or anything. So it wasn't a usable space. I could decorate the walls and that was it. It was just this random, 35-foot long, almost like probably 5 or 6 feet wide hallway. It was just this random weird spot that counted as square footage, that counted as livable space. So that was kind of a boo on me, and I should have known better. I'm in real estate. I should have thought that through. I should have measured, but I had the 2 bedrooms. I thought, okay, it'll work. The square footage says it's here. It's bigger than the last place. I'm not getting that much more stuff. It'll all fit. Boy, was I wrong. So my point here with square footage is that you really need to assess the livability of a space and the actual space. Oftentimes when we're talking about square footage, we're not considering the fact that, square footage is going to be the space under the stairs. That's just storage. It's going to be all those hallways that are not really livable. I mean, they're access paths, but they're not a livable, usable space. It's going to be the little coat closet in the hallway. That's part of your square footage. So it's to me, what I want people to understand and to realize is that don't rule out a space based off the square footage. And don't be surprised when your real estate broker is sending you properties that are plus or minus on the square footage you've set, because we typically know that floor plans and all that are subject to livability. That it's not all about the actual square footage. It's about the openness, the flow, the layout. And you also oftentimes have additional criteria beyond square footage. So like, for example, I have a client right now who has set very strong, firm criteria. They were adamant that they had set this criteria, but when they gave me the criteria of 1,800 square feet to 2,400 square feet, and I searched within those parameters, along with their other parameters of primary suite on the main floor, 2-car garage, all the different things, well, guess what? They only had 2 options to choose from, and neither one was a very good match. They just fell within the square footage criteria, and otherwise they were dated. They were no AC. They had all these other things going on that were deal breakers. So they had 2 properties to choose from, and they didn't like either one. However, when I adjusted those parameters and tweaked it to 1,400 square feet to 2,900 square feet, all of a sudden we had like 12 or 15 houses with a bunch of them meeting all of their criteria except for the square footage. But the funny thing is they started looking at the floor plans, because they called me back and they said, hey, like, we see that this is a bigger list and we're happy about that, but it doesn't meet our square footage requirements. And I told them, I said, okay, well, here's the deal. With your square footage requirements, we've limited it down to 2, and those 2 don't meet your other criteria. When we've adjusted these square footage requirements, now we have all these other choices, so do me a favor, take the virtual tours, look at the floor plans, look at the livability of the space, and let me know what you think then. And guess what? Switch flipped. Things changed. Now all of a sudden they're interested. They're saying, okay, well, maybe it's not a big deal to have to, clean the extra bedroom or to, dust that den. Like maybe that's a worth it sacrifice or change. Same thing on the smaller side though. They're saying, well, this living room concept, it kind of works because it's an open living room that you can see the kitchen. It's all kind of one space. So it's without the walls and the separation. Maybe we could live in a smaller footprint. Anyway, so we're touring homes now, and they're realizing that it's the livability of the space. And that's the point I want to make to you guys, is that don't rule out a home based on the square footage alone. Why? Because it's the livability of the space. It's the usability of the space. There are times that you're going to get a property. Like I said, I'm guilty of it. That hallway killed me. But there's times that you're going to walk into a property and it's going to be significantly smaller than you set as your minimum. But you're going to go, wow, everything would fit. I can live in this. This would work. The flow works. I've got my, it's laid out where I've got my privacy for the office over here and the bedroom over here, and this works. Like I said, the bigger thing, that tends to be pretty rare. That's usually people who are concerned, like I said, about aging in place, having too much maintenance to deal with. But some people are very adamant that they don't want a superfluous amount of space. They don't want wasted space that they're not utilizing. But I guarantee you can most likely fill that space, or you're going to like that space when you have family or friends come to visit. So anyway, back to the original point. Don't be surprised. Most of us as real estate brokers are going to send you the initial search that meets your criteria, and you're going to say, not happy with it. And that's when we're going to take the liberty, and we're going to adjust your square footage by typically 300 to 400 square feet, which sounds like a lot. I mean, it is. It's typically the size of a bedroom, the size of a den. But in doing so, we're going to bring you a lot more options. And I found in my experience, most of you are willing to compromise most on square footage. You want the finished dream kitchen. You want the redone bathroom. You want the primary suite on the main floor. There's all these other must-haves that are so much more important to you than square footage. So my advice now is, whatever you're thinking square footage wise, adjust your perspective and say, okay, we think we need 1,800 square feet. So let's set our minimum square footage at 1,500. That way we're not missing out on anything. Much more than that, anything more than a den, a bedroom, we start getting into issues with you not being able to have enough, things in the house, whether it's all your current possessions or you want it at a home office, whatever. But typically 300 to 400 square feet is a range where most people are comfortable living. It's, okay, we get a storage unit to store some things in, or we get rid of a few pieces of furniture. So like I said, don't be surprised when your realtor does that for you, makes that adjustment for you. And make sure, like I said, that you're adjusting your perspective now and looking at the livability, the feasibility, the overall usefulness of the space, rather than just making a rash decision and eliminating more than half of your potential options. As always, please like and subscribe. It's a huge help for me in the business. If you have any questions about this topic or have something you want me to address in the future, please leave it in the comments below. I'm happy to do a deep dive on any topic that you'd like. Anyway, I hope you guys all have a fantastic week. As always, I am Jacob Fowler with eXp Realty in Oregon and Washington. I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you enjoy your week. Bye-bye.